Hey, welcome in, everybody. This is the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast presented by Underdog Fantasy, the Fantasy Walkabout Season 2, Episode 9. I have not continued to make mistakes on the episodes. We are caught up. We are all here together. Look, and Toronto Dave coming in with the chats. Hey, baby. Don't think I don't know that. I know that one. Hey, baby. Look, great show today. And every time we think that we've got a wrap on, like, the next big thing, another huge deal goes by. So on the last episode, episode 8, which you can find on Spotify and Apple, and we're working on Podbean. I've gotten a couple of requests for that, so I'm working on Podbean right now to get us up there as well. You can go and catch last week's episode on all of those platforms. And again, we hit receivers and we hit quarterbacks, and then all of a sudden Tyreek Hill gets traded and we got to go back through it. So we're gonna take a look down memory lane with the Tunsil trade as an example as to why not to freak out about NFL trades for your fantasy teams, because we don't really know how it's going to shape out for a few years, and it's going to directly relate to the Tyreek Hill trade and what to do. So we're going to go over Tyreek Hill. We're going to go over Patrick Mahomes. Unfortunately, we have to talk about MVS, maybe even some unfortunate Juju Smith-Schuster conversation, but it needs to be done. We're going to talk about running backs and tight ends today. So that means Ronald Jones, some of the other movers and shakers. We had a couple of tight end deals that we kind of like with Gerald Everett. We're going to talk about how all those affects. And then at the end of this whole thing, we're going to get you set up for next week's start to the rookie countdown. So with all that being said, again, my name is Thomas Tipple. You can find me at Thomas Tipple FF. And out of 108 career games, Amari Cooper has finished as a wide receiver 3 or worse in 53% of those games.
And I'm Tom Lee. You can find me at Tom_Lee, spelled LIE 92 on Twitter. And it's a real bummer for me that I can't play on Underdog yet, because our favorite sponsor just is a screaming want for me at the moment. Screaming desire to be on with you boys. We're still figuring out the kinks on that.
Yep. Fun fact, Australians are getting screwed over by Underdog, but
Australians are screwing themselves over.
Okay,
do yourself a favor, Australia. Yeah, that's got nothing to do with Underdog.
Yeah,
it's all on us.
Right. We're gonna blame it all on Australia. That way I don't get in trouble, guys. Huge, like I said, it was a huge, absolutely huge week, and again, what a crazy run of guests from Josh Larkey, who spent his last day at Player Profiler with us. Actually, it was very kind of him to do. And to make that happen, of course, Austin Gale and Ben Gretsch. Cannot thank all of Pat Dougherty, Alfred Fernandez, Troy King, Steven Johnson. Cannot thank the guests enough. But it is rookie time. So very happy to get that started. But as I mentioned, we're going to talk the Tunsil trade, because this trade has really reared its head over the last 2 years. And it's just absolutely insane. The Miami Dolphins received Julian Davenport, who's no longer on the team, Johnson Batamosi, who's no longer on the team, Houston's 2020 first-round pick, which they traded back from 26 to 30 with Green Bay in 2020, also received Green Bay's 2024th, so Green Bay could select Jordan Love. They selected cornerback Noah
Igbenogany.
That one. With pick 30 in the first round, used Green Bay's 4th-round pick that year to trade up in the 4th to draft Solomon Kinley. Great job. Houston also received a 2021 first-round pick, which they traded back from 3 to 12. That was a top 3 pick.
It's nuts.
They traded from 3 to 12 with San Francisco in 2021. Also received San Francisco's 2022 first-round pick, which just got traded to Kansas City. I think that's 29. Their 22 third-round pick and a 2023 first-round pick. Absolutely insane. Then the Miami Dolphins traded back up from to pick 12 from 6 with Philly and selected superstar Jalen Waddle. And again, as I mentioned, San Francisco's first-round pick was number 29, which was included in the Tyreek Hill trade. Mm-hmm. Miami Dolphins still have San Francisco's 2023 pick and their own 2023 pick. Houston's 2021 second-round pick, Miami Dolphins selected unbelievable safety Javon Holland. So that is a huge haul. That is a massive haul for those picks, and Tunsil just absolutely insane. In all this, Tunsil was supposed to protect Deshaun Watson for years to come.
Too bad he
And
can protect him off the field.
yeah, 1000%. The Texans received obviously Laramie Tunsil and all of his gas masking. Wide receiver Kenny Stills, who's no longer on the team. Miami's 2024 round pick, which Houston selected tackle Charlie Heck, started 13 games for the Texans in 2021. That offensive line was not great. Miami's 6th round pick traded the pick to Cincinnati for quarterback Ryan Finley and Cincy's 2021 7th round pick. Houston released Finley in May of 2021 after trading for him in March. And then they traded Cincinnati's 7th round pick to move up in 4th round for linebacker and special teams player Garrett Wallow. We didn't know how this trade was going to turn out.
No.
But it's been long enough to know that it was not great for.
We knew it was Houston. A lot at the time, right? Like it seemed like a lot, but that was a point in time when, like you said, this is the future quarterback of your franchise for Houston. You need protection on that left side. This is a young guy. You can pair up with him for a long period of time. You could see how they were going about it, but and it wasn't the only questionable move that Bill O'Brien made as the GM and coach for the Houston Texans. But it's just, the best bit about this is it's kind of a good example as to how value trading works, right? Oh, Tom with the chin. Yeah, Tom's he's cutting in real fine at the moment. So you're going to see in a few weeks' time how chiseled that jawline can get.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, it's a great example in value trading, right? Because you look at them picking up the 1st round picks and then going, well, not only do we have the 3rd round pick the next year, we can trade back and create more value for ourselves. And what they've done is they've now just created a position where they've surrounded Tua with so much talent that if he does suck, well, you can't say you haven't done your due diligence. So really that's what you're doing with your own team. And this is how we sort of compare it to Dynasty is if you keep flipping assets and creating depth and adding value to your team and something does pop, all of a sudden you have yourself an opportunity to give yourself a proper run at it. So I kind of like this as a parallel to how we go about our Dynasty.
The Dolphins basically netted multiple 23 first-round picks, and then we're just able to get Jalen Waddle and then Tyreek Hill for basically free. Honestly, that's free for them. That's free money for them. Unbelievable job. They still have a pick this year, 2 picks next year. Who knows what they're going to do in the draft this year? And then they go and sign Armstead. It's pretty amazing. I was pretty tilted when I learned that the Chiefs traded Tyreek Hill, and I have 2 trades that I actually did that we're going to talk about today on how to handle the situation. I did not handle it well. I have been pounding the table on this here show for why you should just be all in on Tyreek Hill as the wide receiver 3.
Yep.
And don't do that anymore. Not as the 3, but still go in. Just kind of insane. Let's talk about the Tyreek Hill trade, Tom Lee.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it because everyone's value. Here's a list of the players that we feel are hit by this the most. Obviously, Waddle, Tua, Tyreek, and the entire impact on Kansas City. And then, of course, Gesicki, because someone's got to be the odd man out. And I don't think personally that the Dolphins are just all of a sudden going to throw the ball 35 times a game. Like, McDaniel's done nothing to show that he's in his time with Shanahan, that he's going to do anything different. Yeah. Right. So we're excited about the usage for Waddle, but then all of a sudden Tyreek Hill comes in and it's murky. It's murky. But as when we had Ben Gretsch on, he said you should be targeting these murky situations. The problem is the value of these 2 receivers isn't going to drop enough that you can really, if you don't have them already, go in and get them at any sort of reasonable price discount. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to be reflected in what their value is going forward.
And it's because it's not a huge plummet in value, right? It's a scared, what do we do? And if you're already an owner and you've bought in at a higher or perceivably higher price, you're not sure what to do. You're going to have to be convinced to get rid of this piece until you see it because you've got an untested coach, a quarterback who promised a lot but hasn't really had the weapons or hasn't shown the skill set on the field to really be what we thought he could be. And then you've got the guy who broke out last year, coming off an injured end of his college season. Like, there's just so many different bits to this offense that could be amazing. but they can't all be amazing. So we can't buy into everything. So and like you said, as much as we think, well, yes, it should improve. Are they going to improve to a 35 pass attempt team? Probably not, because you don't want Tua doing that. You want him at 25 to 30 max, controlling it, running zone scheme, all that sort of stuff.
Like, the way I look at it is when you approach San Francisco, you had Kittle and you had Debo and you had Ayuk. How often this year were you happy playing all three with Jimmy Garoppolo? And if you're going to tell me that Tua is better than Garoppolo, he has not been that much better than Garoppolo. And I know his deep ball completion percentage and whatever and whatnot. And he had multiple offensive coordinators. That's not all helping him. This is his third year, right, with a new setup, a new offense. This matters. That kind of thing matters. So we're going to see. Yo, Tyreek. Oh, we got Dave here again doing his thing. Yeah, Tyreek and Waddle managers got to be concerned, but not enough to give a discount. Exactly, because earlier in the season we talked about, and I know we talk a lot about current value over startup value, but it is always important to check in. This is what we say all the time. Waddle was going 3.3 to 3.6. Do you think any manager that has drafted him this year or that has seen that is going to all of a sudden be like, all right, well, I'll just trade him away now for less than that, and I'll give it to you for the 5.5 price? No, that's not going to happen. Tyreek Hill's going at the end to mid of the second round in Superflex startups. Do you think there any manager that went and bought and drafted Tyreek Hill is just going to all of a sudden be like, you know what? I'm out. No, that's not going to happen. So it's a hold scenario. It's a hold pattern, but at the same time, that hold pattern just means everyone suffers except for Tua. Tua better not suffer, because if he does, he's done.
Well, that's it. This is it for Tua, right? And as a heavy ownership person on Tua, it's exciting, but it's also terrifying, because if he blows this, it's a full-on reset in a couple of years' time, because I mean, not for Miami, for my teams I'm talking about. Because for me, it's that's that done. There's no QB2 here. This is like, I need something here.
100%. And then look, what happened to Kansas City now? Kansas City all of a sudden is looking real rough. There are people placing bets. I believe Austin Gale on their last show mentioned that they were likely to finish third. They thought they were going to finish third in that division with the Chargers and Broncos now, and the Chiefs are kind of sitting back there. They lost Tyrann Mathieu, Sorensen on their back end, which Sorensen,
I'm okay with Sorensen,
whatever, making me put up with Gabe Davis truthers all off season, and then they haven't replaced him, and then they signed Ronald Jones, which is fine, but they addressed the receiving corps by signing Valdez Scantling to a 3-year, $30 million contract with 18 guaranteed, basically a 2-year deal, and leaving Juju as their most. And I know they have picks 29 and 30, but you don't think they're going to help out the defense that got shredded? They need to. So maybe one receiver at pick 29 and 30, and then probably someone in their secondary. It's what I would imagine happened for Kansas City. I don't think they go receiver. No way. So
and that's the thing, because the other talk would be then trading up to try and get a better receiver, but then you deny yourself the opportunity to improve both sides of the ball, which they're going to need to compete. So, I mean, it's an interesting one, because from a value point of view, you're going, well, at least they got a bit of value, but from a team strategy point of view, it's really strange. And like you said, we won't know the value of this trade for quite a while yet. But
I don't think they got good value or a lot of value. No way they should have walked out of that without a top 15 pick.
Yeah, that's the thing.
No way.
So you look at it, you're like, they end up with 2 firsts. Like, okay, maybe you can see it. But with those 2 firsts, 3 picks away from being second round picks, there's no way you can replace Tyreek with at least one of them, regardless of how much money it was going to cost you. So I don't really know what they're going to do, but this would be the first time that we've seen an NFL team do something and us not know what the plan is. So we'll sort of wait and see. Yeah.
I just want to ask you, Dave, Drake London pick 29 will not happen. He's going in the top 5. I'll tell you right now, the Jets take him at 4. The Jets take him at 4. I'm just saying it. I'm saying it now. I think the Jets take him at 4. Or JMO. I don't think JMO makes it past the Chargers. And I think Olave doesn't make it past the Eagles. So I
or Green
think at
Bay.
29 and 30, they're looking at like Christian Watson, Dotson, Sky
Yeah.
Moore. And I think at that point, they better be real comfortable with that. And fantasy managers better be real weary because I don't know how that's going to fit with them. And like, I just want to ask you this. Okay. Jalen Waddle's current, according to Dynasty League Football, his current positional ADP is 7.67.
Yeah.
And Tyreek Hill's current into 2022 is the wide receiver 6. Who loses more value on this trade? Who falls harder in positional ADP? Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle?
It's so tough, isn't it? Because it's rare that essentially the same player, just different years apart, gets impacted by the same deal. And without knowing what Mike McDaniel's going to do with this team, in theory they should both be fine. But you're asking Tua to support 2 top 10 wide receivers. That's a lot, right? In a division that's pretty competitive, that has, Jets aside, building teams, competitive teams, but grind teams. The weather's not always fantastic. So
Buffalo, New England, like it's not an easy division.
Yeah, so for me, the guy that loses the least would probably be Hill, just because you put more money into him. You're going to feature him. He's done it all before. And this is not in any way trashing Waddle. I love Waddle as a prospect. But the guy you've just spent everything on, you're going to make sure he does succeed. And he's the most like what they want to do with this sort of gadget everything player. So I think Hill loses the least just because they're going to try and feature and do as much as they can. The slide on Waddle is the interesting thing, for me. And we always talk about value. Is there an opportunity to sell out just to make sure that you're saving yourself on the floor side of what could happen, possibly? But everyone's looking for a value on Waddle, so you're not going to be able to sell him at what he was before. So
exactly.
So for me, I think Hill is the one that maintains the highest relevance. But that's just to say I don't know what's going to happen to Waddle. It's just a case of this could be anything. And we could look at back on this in a couple of months time ago. Oh, geez, it's looking pretty good all round. So I don't know.
Okay, I want to talk about 2 trades that I made here. Okay, I traded for Tyreek Hill. I got Tyreek Hill.
Now, is this before or after the trade had happened?
This is after. These are both after.
Yep.
Okay, so it's very important to note. I traded for Tyreek Hill a 2024 first-round pick and J.D. McKissick. I traded away Isaiah McKenzie, a 22 first, a 22 second, another 22 first, and a 23 second. Now, those picks, very important here. One is pick 107, one is pick 112, one is pick 207, and then my 23 second. So pretty significant capital there. I like J.D. McKissick. I think he's going to be a fine flex play, especially in the dog days of the season. But this is a situation where I was willing to pay 2 firsts to go and get
that's what this comes down to,
still.
right?
Yeah, because he's a 2 first player. And I thought maybe I could get a value on it. The only value I got there is that 24 one, which I'm very fortunate enough to know that person I traded with doesn't really care about those as much as we might, because I actually like the quarterback class in 2024 as it stands right now. So I'm trying to get as many of them as I can. Try to get 24 first-round draft picks as throw-ins because it's possible.
And that's the thing. It's that insurance policy, right? It doesn't seem like a lot to pay, but
right.
Getting a 24 back, essentially you have, because if you look at it, the 112 for a 24 first is already a win, right?
Yes.
As much as you don't get to use it this year, and you're gonna have to wait 2 years, you cashed out the last possible, first round pick in a class that's even and deep, but not outstanding for a chance at something outstanding in 24. We already like that. So really, you're looking at will these young wide receivers coming through this year challenge Hill and push towards that top 12, top 15 wide receiver in Dynasty. Yep. That's the risk you're kind of taking with this. But as a team, and I know this league, for a team that you're looking to compete now anyway, you compete now, you push hard, you got the 24 there as the backup. It's a nice type of deal. I'm not huge on seconds, regardless of where they are. That's not to say that you can't get value there. It's just
I can move them.
It's just harder to predict. So you can always add more value with them to your roster if you want to, or you can take a swing and have a shot at someone. So I really like that deal. Yeah.
I know he's going to listen to this, so I don't want him to think that I am saying this disrespectfully. But when you are in leagues with people, you want to bet against them. If your
Yes.
idea is that you are going to win, okay, you need to be betting against the people you're playing with. And this
Yeah.
is not a disrespectful thing. But if I were to sit here and say, do I think I'm a better overall fantasy manager than my opponents? Absolutely.
You have to back
So I'm
yourself in.
willing to
Yeah.
take their first round pick and hope that between now and then they fuck themselves over.
Especially
Because
if
you
you're
have to
taking,
think that way.
yeah. And if you're taking their
Otherwise,
first round pick, right, you want to make sure that you're not improving their team with the trade you gave them.
exactly.
Because then all of a
Not
sudden
only
you're
am I taking
devaluing,
away
right?
a
Yeah.
clear top 10 wide receiver now, I won't say top 5, but a clear top 10 wide receiver off of their roster, making them worse and hoping that they don't hit on their first round picks. I'm willing to bet against them doing that. I am more willing to bet that they're going to draft Jalen Reagor than they are going to draft Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah. You have to be able to do that. That is an important part of the game. Otherwise, you're just playing for the median. And why bother?
If they happen to jag both picks, what's the worst case? You're still left with Hill on a first. So, like, you haven't really hurt yourself.
Yep.
It's just the upside for what you could get in the future goes down a little bit.
Right. And especially on a team that is knowing your assets, right? I have 4 or 5 23 firsts on that team already.
Yeah.
Right. So it's fine. Now, the next one, this one's a little tougher, right? This one is the one I traded away Tyreek Hill, which hurt me to my core. This hurt me to my core. But my quarterback situation was pretty rough, right? I had Derek Carr, who great boost. I had traded Matthew Stafford for a couple of picks and something else, I think. I can't remember that set this whole trade up. But I traded away Tyreek Hill, a 22-1. I'm going to tell you what picks these are. A 22-1. A 22 second and a 23-1. So Tyreek Hill, 2 1s and a second. I got back Zach Ertz, Kyler Murray, and Michael Pittman. This was after the Matt Ryan trade and obviously after the Tyreek trade. Important to note those two things because I think Michael Pittman, and you can put me on Lucas, when you're clipping this, clip this one right here. Michael Pittman is going to be what everyone wanted Calvin Ridley to be with Matt Ryan. All right? Book it, put it down because they're both kind of jaggy, but I just don't. I never thought of Calvin Ridley that high, so you can bookmark that. Now, again, Zach Ertz, Kyler Murray, Michael Pittman. Kyler Murray is a top 5 dynasty asset. Period.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with that. Tyreek Hill's a 2 first player. Kyler Murray is a 3 first player. So I kind of gave up more value than I should have. I understand. I'm basically paying like a 109 for Michael Pittman, and I'm okay with that right now. And sue me, but I'm okay with that. Those picks ended up being, excuse me for a moment while I try to track what picks those are. That was the 109, the 205, and my 23 first.
Yeah.
Important to note, I still have his 23 first. So again, I am taking star assets away from my opponent while maintaining one of their future firsts that I got in another deal. And Toronto Dave, okay, Tommy T with the eyes, hashtag Pittman. That's right. Michael Pittman has just as good a shot to finish as a top 12 wide receiver as Calvin Ridley did with Matt Ryan. Because Matt Ryan, everyone just leaving the Atlanta Falcons, gambling 8-game parlays and getting hurt, Matt Ryan was still statistically pretty good. So I think he can be better than Carson Wentz, which means a lot better for Michael Pittman, especially if they draft someone that can actually help. So of these two trades, I feel like these are perfect representations of how to manage assets that you both might be falling, might be able to get a value with, and how to turn them into more prime assets, elite assets. And what makes these elite assets is me betting against my opponents, which I will do all the time. Because otherwise, like I said, you're playing for the median. And if you're playing for the median, you're just there to donate money to everyone else. Bet against the people you're playing with.
Yeah. I think that's it. So that second trade, and again, it's a lot. People are often, the eyes sort of widen a little bit when these sort of values are being thrown around. Like, it's a lot to be thrown around for deals, but that's the iron price you got to pay for someone like Kyler Murray. So if you have a huge deficiency with a pretty decent roster, which I know you do in this league, just vouch you on that one.
The legal record, by the way.
Yeah, the improvement at quarterback for a top 5 guy is going to cost a hell of a lot of capital or investment. and it's going to require a big piece going back the other way. So as much as, yes, you did take away one of the prime pieces, prime movers from the other team, you still send back Hill. So it does even out a little bit in that aspect, and it's still a lot to give up. But for what you can do with that, and like you said, you've still got picks, you've still got value on the roster. It's not a smash win, but it's also not a, oh Jesus, there's no way you'd ever do that, because
exactly.
To get these guys and to know that now sits and it completely changes the face of your team, much to my disgust. Because there was a glaring deficiency on that roster, and it was that the thinness at quarterbacks cost you last year at the very least, or possibly the year before.
Not 2 years in a row.
It needed to change, so you can see why it happens and how it happens. I like the aggressiveness of the deal as well from both sides, because if you're going to give away a Kyler, make sure you demand something hefty in return.
We got a question coming. We got a question coming in for Twitch from Twitch, which you can find me over there at Tom Stifel FF on the Twitch. We do Twitch all of our games. If you don't want to comment on the U of Tube, we will get to you here. Little boxes. If you were selling Dak and Connor, I'm assuming this is James Conner, because Snoop Conner is in rookie drafts now, and people are drafting him. And I love Snoop Conner. I think he's dope. His name is dope, and he plays well. What would be the minimum you'd want in return? Now, little boxes. If you're new to the show, I haven't seen you comment or question before, so I'm just gonna relay this. Each league is obviously different, so it's going to be important to know your league mates. If your league mates hyper value quarterback, then you have to make sure that you get that in return. If you're in a league with somebody like myself, I'm not going to give you jack shit for your quarterback, because I would rather just play Winston and call it a day. So it's very important. Yeah, unless it's, hey, well, right? Sometimes you got to make adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would want for return, it also depends on your own value. So when we get a question like this that's in a vacuum, it is important to look within your own value. Where did you draft Dak? How do you view Dak? If you view Dak as a top 8 dynasty quarterback, then he is a 2 first, high first plus, or a trade for Stafford and a 1, or you can trade for, maybe not now, but a Tua and a 1, Mac Jones and 2 1s, right? Because I have Burrow and Dak kind of in the same tier. They're not really rushers. They're not going to provide much. They need to be super efficient, and they need to be elite tossing the ball. They're both on teams that smash the run way too often and in obvious situations, but they both have elite weapons. They're both in that 25 to 27 range, so their peak value, awesome. I would be going and trying to find that guy like Mac Jones, like Tua was, Jameis Winston, Matt Ryan. Insert those quarterbacks that are viewed as lesser options. Go rack up multiple first-round picks, get that quarterback. With Connor, a lot of people might be willing to give you that 112, but I think if you can tack on another running back, go get J.D. McKissick and 205. So overall, if I'm doing this trade, my in a vacuum initial thought, trading Dak, give me Mac Jones, 2 1s, 205, and J.D. McKissick, and I will give you Dak and James Conner. Hopefully that helps. That's the trade I'm looking for. It's a lot, but in a startup, that's kind of what the value is going to end up being. So for me, I wouldn't really take less than that. And obviously, if you're moving those pieces, I'm just going to assume you're trying to quote unquote rebuild, but you should be retooling, get replacement value and multiple picks. And McKissick in a second does that with Connor, and a replacement young quarterback that's decent enough, plus multiple first round picks, gets this done for me.
You are ruining everything I have to say on these sort of things, Tom, because the 2 examples I was going to bring up was if you're moving off Dak, we know that you're moving back, right? Because there's no point moving from, if you've got Dak, you perceive him as being a QB 8 or higher, you're not moving to a top 3 guy. There's no reason to do it. Keep the pieces or trade back. So like you said, Find the younger guy, add a first, or add a very high first to him. So, go back to a Stafford, add a mid first, go back to a Tua if you like him now and add more. I like it. The Stafford was the one I was going to bring up, because that's, again, replace production, add value. Dak, whilst having the sexy appeal of, Dallas quarterback, and he's boomed before and the 40 touchdown. Like he can explode, but he's been struggling the last year and a half. Whether it's post foot or what the go is, I don't know. But that offense is not moving the ball like it was a few years ago. Mm-hmm. So I don't mind moving off Dak if you think you can replace that production. If you can get Stafford in the first, I'm really happy with that move. Go as a Cowboys fan.
That's easy money.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, but I would also unless you have a plethora of quarterbacks, you want to get replacement value in some ways. So if you have four quarterbacks that you like if you have Dak and you have Mac and you have Winston and like Mariota, sure, because you have three other quarterbacks that you're just going to be able to rotate and you're just securing value. You can even draft Wills if you want. I wouldn't. I would draft London at 102, but that's just me. Quick little look into our rookies coming up. But that's great, but you also still want a player. So the 24 first, like I just said, is I got for a couple of seconds. So it's still a first, but people may not value it that same way. Yeah. So sure, get that in. Get that 23 one, which I know people are hyper valuing, which is dope. But also get some replacement value. That's so important. Or get those three first and use James Conner to get replacement quarterback value with a Winston, with a Ryan, and you'd be fine with that. I'm okay with that for sure, 100%.
This kid, we're going to talk about Conner a little bit later on, but his value has changed. So go and target a win now team. Make sure that you take the problem with targeting a win now team is unless they've acquired first, their first is not going to be that high, so you're going to start to struggle with that. And if you're going to 23, also drop on. If you're giving Dak and Conner to a win now team, the 23 first and 24 first are looking to be lower because of this trade. So just keep that in mind. That dice rolls a little bit better because all of a sudden you push those picks towards the middle.
So you kind of cut in and out a little bit there.
Sorry.
But I'm gonna sum it up. Basically, if you're willing to give somebody that elite quarterback option, you got to be willing to accept that you might have a later pick, and that's just it. That comes with the cojones of trading elite quarterback options for lesser quarterback options and more assets. This is a realm and a world that I thrive in. You will find me dead before I am forced to draft a quarterback at 1-8 and 1-9 and then draft Kirk Cousins in the 4th and 5th round because it's a super flex. I don't care. I'll play a receiver or I'll just wait to draft Trubisky and hope that he gets a job. I would rather do that. So this is my kind of territory. Little boxes from Twitch. So appreciate the message. Look, I think we hammered home the we got off track here. Just before we carry on and you guys get a break from our voices. I don't give a shit about MVS, so don't offer him to me. I do want Ronald Jones, though, because every running back that isn't named Clyde Edwards-Helaire that gets to play for the Chiefs does really well. So you've probably already got him on your roster. Trading for him is probably a little risque, but again, this is another opportunity to flip Ronald Jones for J.D. McKissick and a draft pick, and I would do that. So be mindful of that. Don't panic on Kelsey. He will be affected. Don't panic. Don't yeet him. He's going to be fine. He's still going to be a top 3 option at tight end. And he might even score more touchdowns. We don't even know. So we haven't seen an offense without Hill and him for extended periods of time. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to pay some bills with Underdog. And then we are also going to get into the next little spot here where we talk about the quarterbacks and the running backs and how that affects your dynasty team. First, I'm going to play a little clip here. We are going to go with, what are we going to go? What do we want to go? Do we want to go Yeet Alert is right, Dave. I can't wait to have that button. We're going to play a little bit of a clip from our show with Pro Football Focus's director of content. It was amazing that we got him on. Man sits in meetings with Collinsworth and Michaels. Just unbelievable knowledge on this show, which you can go and catch. We are going to play a clip from the Austin Gale show, and when we come back, we're going to do Underdog. Okay, sit tight.
No PFF grade tells you how good a player is. Mm-hmm. It's a new advanced metric to describe a player's production within a game, a season, a series of games, etc. PFF charts every player on every play in every game in the NFL and grades every player on a -2 to +2 scale in an effort to create a more predictive metric than yards per carry, touchdown interception ratio, sacks, tackles, because it's just not good enough.
One of the important notes for that conversation, the question was, if I'm not mistaken, was why do you think people think that the Pro Football Focus ranks and positional grades are the only thing they look at? And it's important to know that that's not what Austin and the people at PFF really think. It is another tool. It is another guide that helps you break things down in a more detailed way. And he also mentions that it is important to expand your process. So great conversation with Austin Gale. You can go and look that up. Tom Lee, I want to tell you a little story. Something happened to me today.
No.
After I went to the gym and felt completely inferior to the person I was working out with, I went home. I was feeling a little bit down, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to write. So I started writing an article on Amari Cooper for goingfor2.com, and then I went, you know what, I need a break. And instead of turning my Xbox on, instead of turning a movie on, you know what I went and did? I went to underdogfantasy.com. And I did a best ball draft. It's fantastic. Rookies and sophomores only. Absolutely amazing opportunity to test your rookie rankings and your range of outcomes against other people and to win some money. You get to win some money and have bragging rights. It's absolutely phenomenal. It is super easy to use. You can either go to underdogfantasy.com or go and get their app. Super easy to use app. You go and click. If you've never played Underdog before, oh, baby, do I got news for you. If you are new to Underdog Fantasy and you want to get in on the pick'em and the baseball and hockey and football and just parlays, everything you could want is in this app. It's on this site. If you want to get in on it, well, you can use our promo code. Okay, we're big shots now. You can use our promo code Full Tilt, and they will match your deposit. They'll double your money up to $100. You will also be able to have access to exclusive private drafts with different members of the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast. Myself, not Tom Lee, because he's in freaking Australia, but you'll get Billy, and you'll get Jacob, myself, and Maddie, and Lucas, all in your drafts for you to draft against us. It helps us out. It helps you out. It's a great, great time. And with March Madness happening right now, the over, under, and the prop bets, the pick 'em bets for college football are absolutely going bananas. Do not miss out on your chance to cash in with the magical run of the Peacocks. It's just been phenomenal. Get in on the game. Go to underdogfantasy.com. Sign in and join in. Promo code Full Tilt and get yourself picking them and getting in on best ball big board drafts. Tom Lee, let's talk about what do we want to talk about? We're going to talk about quarterbacks first. Tom Lee is kind of doing a little freezy thing that can happen. He's dropping in and out. So we're going to lose Tom Lee in a second, but that's okay. We're going to take another break. We have clips for this because in Australia, his internet connection goes a little wonky sometimes. We're going to play a couple of clips, and when Tom Lee gets back, we are going to talk about the free agent impact of quarterbacks and running backs.
You know, I bring up this thing about positional value. It's not some fairy tale, right? Von Miller, who you wouldn't even argue is top 3, top 4 at his position, is getting paid $17.5 million. Hassan Reddick's getting $15-16 million. And if you're going to look at me in the face and draft a defensive tackle or an off-ball linebacker ahead of some pass rushers in the draft, you're just making bad calls, right? You'd rather have the 8th best edge defender in this class than even like the 2nd best off-ball linebacker, because they're just not as expensive on the open market. Teams are begging, paying hand over fist to go get guys that can rush the passer. So spending the high-end draft capital on those guys so you can maximize rookie contracts and all that stuff is such a major part of this, right? Like you have to involve positional value, market value of these positions if you're going to maximize, the game we're playing.
Tom Lee, it looks like you are back and at it. Important to note with that clip is that also applies to fantasy football. Positional value is key. It is clutch. People moving up to take quarterbacks, people moving up to take running backs. Absolutely phenomenal and super duper important. Like I said, Tom Lee, we're going to talk about quarterbacks first. We're going to hit the quarterbacks first because Matt Ryan got traded. Your poor Falcons. This must suck for you. Ridley going to get yeeted from the Falcons. He's gone for the year, maybe more, maybe not coming back to the team. Probably not coming back to the team, I think. And now legend, an almost Super Bowl winner, blowing a 28-3 lead, traded to the Indianapolis Colts to replace the project that was Carson Wentz. 2 years, plenty of contract complications. So Matt Ryan to Indy, I love it. I love it because I was drafting Matt Ryan kind of where I was drafting Ben Roethlisberger last year as a fill-in.
Yeah.
Because that's my home. That's where I live. Yeet alert times 2. That's right. It's important. We got to bring the yeet back, baby. Yeet, yeet. Look, I love this deal, and I love the deal for all the options. Like I said, he's already just mentioned. I want to hand the ball to Jonathan Taylor. Awesome. That's great. Yeah, that's fantastic for everyone. Get you a running game that doesn't involve a hybrid wide receiver running back and one of the worst running backs in the game, Mike Davis. Yeah. And then obviously for Michael Pittman, it's fantastic. And you got to think they're bringing somebody in. I hope Julio Jones goes there because I'm ready to have my heart broken for like the 4th time. I want it to happen.
Special.
You're basically going to become a Colts fan, I think, and you and Jacob will bond maybe a little bit more. We'll see. But I love this deal for everyone involved. For everyone involved, that division is going to be weird. They still get to play the Jags twice, right? So that's very key. They get to play Houston twice. That's key. And now they get a quarterback upgrade. And I see you have here Matt Ryan or the 201 in Superflex. That is huge. The 201, some people, when they're trying to negotiate with you, be like, well, it's basically the 113. Yeah, it's the 113, bro. Yeah, no, shut up. No, it's not. It's still a second.
Go join a 13 team league. Yeah.
Yeah, put that in all of your statistics and all your analysis and see if that changes the numbers that much. All right, relax. The hit rate's not going to change on those players for sure. So look, Matt Ryan or the 201 is a great question.
Thank
you. It's probably right at the point, right? It's right at the point where I feel really sick about it. I tend to want the receiver, but you got to think he's there for 2 years. At least I would think.
It's exactly what you just said, right? So all the pieces get an upgrade on the Indianapolis side of the deal. Let's be honest. And he should be productive. You know, Carson Wentz had some productive weeks there, and you're getting a starting quarterback for a second. That is, you know, if you can get that's a payable price. So I think you can take either side of this pretty comfortably, depending on where your roster's at. Do you want it? Probably not, but you can't, unless you're moving up at quarterback, which is probably what we'll discuss now. You can't move back from Matt Ryan, right? Like he's like the ultimate rental QB2, not quite in the same way as Ben was last year, but kind of similar, more productive, more upside. But that's the role he's filling now. So to get that position for the 201 is pretty close to even money for me.
So the Indianapolis Colts have an out after 2022.
Yeah.
At 4 years, $117 million. He would have a $24,705,882 dead cap if they did take the out.
Which is sizable, right?
Right. Or they ride him out for their age 38 season where they'll probably restructure his base salary like they did this year. And knowing that, I'm with Dave here. I think I'd go Matt Ryan over the 201, which feels absolutely disgusting.
It sounds awful. Yeah.
Right. When you say it out loud, it sounds... Now I'm reconsidering. Don't think Matt Ice will ever warrant a first. It's not a first, Dave. It's not. But again, this is one of those things where I don't think I would go and seek that trade out overall. I think, again, I'm trying to trade a different quarterback to move down to Matt Ryan. Yeah. Go and trade Jameis Winston for Matt Ryan and a pick instead, right? He's younger. He's got the same amount of time, right? He's got Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara and a good offensive line minus Armstead. So there's probably a scenario where you can make that happen. because there's quote unquote, what word do we love saying? Upside with Winston, where it doesn't look like there might be any with Matt Ryan for some people, because age really matters. I think age with quarterbacks is completely overstated, in my opinion. I think I've been pretty clear on that in the past. I'm willing to go and do that. It'd be very rare. For example, co-host on the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast and nightmare character to trade with, Jacob Sanderson, FF_RTDB, is out here telling me that if Pittsburgh doesn't draft a quarterback, it's 201 time for Mitch Trubisky. Well, if 201 to 203 is going to be Mitch Trubisky territory, just give me Matt Ryan. Right? So if you look at it in that perspective and how people's values are going to change come draft time, just take Matt Ryan.
Yeah. So head to head, let's go that. So head to head, Jameis Winston or Matt Ryan?
Matt Ryan.
All right. Head to head, Mitch Trubisky or Matt Ryan?
Matt Ryan.
See, like that's where it's at, right? Because we've seen it before. Dave, jump in the chat. 201 in the future.
I might rise higher than 201 in the future. That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, but that's sort of where it's at. Like, this is the position. So the other end of that for me is then, how high of a quarterback are you willing to slide back from to add value to Matt
Ryan? What would I move back from? That's a good question for me.
Is it a QB1? It's too far.
Oh man, I like Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like somewhere in that QB, like Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Right. Who else is kind of in that 14? I know we listed them. I can't remember where that is in our Slack channel because that's way too freaking far now. Give me Trogotsky over Matty Ice. Yeah, sure. But if Pittsburgh drafts a quarterback, Trubisky could lose his job by week 6. And that's what I'm afraid of. So I love Trubisky because you're getting him at like the 17th and 16th, 15th round in startups.
He appeals the value. Yeah.
Right, prior to him signing that. But now people are obviously trying to offload him at a good value. If they don't draft a quarterback, cool. You probably got him for a year because they're not going to turn to Haskins clearly. And Mason Rudolph he's a glitch in the system. Like, I don't think he's a real human with how his face looks and how he reacts and talks to things. I don't think he's real. So yeah, but Trubisky's still got a path to losing his job fucking immediately.
Yeah. So the guys they're talking about moving back from, right? So we're looking at Tannehill, Zach Wilson, Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers, Tua Tagovailoa. Like, this is that sort of range where you slide back, you add a first to it, and all of a sudden, like a medium to high first, and you're pretty happy with that outcome, right? It adds premier value, it adds flex, it adds whatever piece to your offense, and then you replace that value because a lot of those guys, and we talked about it a little bit in the Slack channel, we'll probably dive into it a little bit later in the offseason. A lot of the guys in that range have clear deficiencies that won't change. Right now, a few of the younger guys, their upside, we don't know. But Aaron Rodgers has just lost his number one wide receiver. Even if they get rookies in, even if they pay free agency dollars to bring someone in late, like,
he's got to be perfect. His QB, his elite seasons, his touchdown efficiency is insane.
If you have him as a quarterback 1 or even like quarterback 12 to 13, what's the loss to going down to Matt Ryan and adding a very high first? I don't see it at the moment. Yeah,
or even if it's a late first or 201, because I agree. And maybe we're insane. Maybe we're crazy. Maybe we're not. We're going to find out. Lucas is going to clip this. Lucas is going to clip each one of these trades because I'm now mentioning that he should do that. We're going to post them, and then we're going to get roasted. So, and if we do get roasted, you're not going to get me. Look who's back. It's Patrick, the HR alpaca. He will be taking all complaints. He found his way back. He's a little leany right now, but he found his way back. He's here. He's going to answer these complaints.
He's leaning away from the sponsorship Clearasil bottle that's next
That's
door.
Right. Yeah, that's right. That's Cetaphil, by the way, because I have Enzema. Thank you very much for bringing that up. Not a sponsor. So I'm actually going to turn that because that's not a sponsor.
Correct. Underdog's the sponsor.
Yeah, exactly. Underdogs are only.
We love you, Underdog.
Let's talk about the next guy who we kind of briefly mentioned. So we don't got to spend a lot of time on that because we are hitting 50 minutes already. Jameis Winston, 2-year, $28 million, 15 guaranteed. He's going to be there for 2 years. Yep. I like it. We talked about it. I'd rather Ryan, but Jameis or Daniel Jones. I want Jameis Winston because I think Daniel Jones is absolutely ass, and I don't think there's anything that Dabble's going to be able to do. He might run his way to a QB1, but I think Jones is done after this year. I don't even think he's going to get the backup treatment, really. He's just been so fucking awful.
Yeah.
He's just been faster Sam Darnold with as many turnovers and fewer QB1 weeks. So if I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on that because shut up. But I'm taking.
We'll do our research.
Yeah, I'm doing Jameis Winston here pretty freaking easily.
I'm with you on that. I like Jameis now. He's in a good position. Hopefully, we get back to those sort of high risk, high reward.
Michael Thomas, please be healthy and please sign a fast receiver, please, for the love of God. Callaway season's coming back, baby.
Jesus Christ.
I like this one too. I know you were very sad with this signing. You're not happy about it. And
it's just anything to do with Atlanta. That's fine.
I hate you, Dave. I'm actually going to say Baker here because I think Baker's going to get another opportunity somewhere, even though I think they both suck. I don't think Baker. I think Baker has shown more to warrant him getting another job. So the pylon, pasty white, former number 1 overall quarterbacks tend to keep jobs longer and get more opportunities than like tall, lanky, athletic projects like Danny
Couldn't imagine why.
So, yeah, no idea why. Clip Thomas saying, I'm going Baker. He still sucks. Like, you can clip it, but Baker still sucks, and everyone knows it.
There's the qualifier. Yeah.
It's fine. And as I said, the only reason he's going to get that is because he has My Pigment was taken number 1 overall, and people say he's accurate. So that's why
he's got all the ads.
Yeah, that's why he's going to keep his job. Let's freaking be honest, because that's how the NFL actually works, and you can argue with me on that all you fucking want. Look, let's talk about Marcus Mariota.
Yeah,
the bridge quarterback for now the Atlanta Falcons after yeeting Matt Ryan over there to the Colts and taking the contract. It's unbelievable. 2 years, $19 million, $6 million guaranteed. He's probably like, if they don't draft a quarterback this year, which I hope to God they do not, for your team's sake.
Don't do it.
I'm hoping they just wait till next year and they draft one of the like 4 absolute studs. Like just draft Stroud at like 101 when you win it.
Or just give Mariota a crack. Like, what's to lose this year? I've already signed him.
They're gonna play. They're gonna play Mariota this year. I think the $6 million guaranteed. I think they're gonna play Mariota 6.5 guaranteed. No, yeah, $6 million guaranteed. I think locks him in for this year, which means he's a viable fantasy asset. And you have here 206 and 209 or Mariota. I'm taking the picks. I'm taking the picks because that's a 1-year rental, and JJ Zacharyson just recently did a study that shows that most picks, no matter where they are, actually go up in value the following year, even after down years. So if you look at last year's, like 206, right? Rondale Moore, right? Elijah Moore.
Carter.
Carter. They had okay games, like even let's say Rondale Moore, who was probably not even arguably, he was the worst out of that bunch. Even he's gone up in value. So you have a shot to increase your value, especially if you do a little bit of research and a little bit of work. I don't think Mariota will ever go up in value. So in this case, I'm willing to bite the bullet and take the picks here because Mariota should be your 4th and 5th quarterback.
Yeah, and that's why I put 2 seconds, because I think 1 second you probably keep Mariota, but for a shot at 2 of them, I'll take the picks in this one.
Yeah, I think that's pretty easy. I think that's it for the quarterbacks. Like, I don't think we really have more We're waiting for Baker to drop right now. So we're 54 minutes in. So let's touch up on some of these freaking running backs.
Keep powering through. Yeah.
Leonard Fournette, 3 years, $21 million, 12 guaranteed, and you have Lenier the 108. I'll tell you this. Jacob was talking about and has been talking about on the Bird app. That's FF_RTDB. And I'm kind of buying. I'm kind of buying in at this point. Mm-hmm. Why aren't we valuing? And if we have to cut it off because we're gone too long, we will, and then we'll touch back up on it either next week or we'll do like a little bonus thing. Either way, we're not going to be here for 2 hours. But I'm gonna drag this one out a little bit because I want to talk about Leonard Fournette.
It's important. I mean, especially these next 2.
Why are we not looking at Leonard Fournette the same way that Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara are viewed in Dynasty? We view them that way, view him that way a little bit in redraft with his ADP, but he's 27. Dalvin Cook is 26. Alvin Kamara is, I think, 26, turning 27, I think, at the start of the year, and likely facing a suspension because it's the offseason in the NFL and everyone's getting suspended, which is kind of their usual. For absolutely horrific things, mind you. But why aren't we? He's got the money, he's got the contract, and Brady's back, so he's got the offense. Arguably just as good on offense as the Minnesota Vikings and the New Orleans Saints, if not better. He is catching the ball at a hilarious rate, which makes him awesome in PPR formats. He's getting the goal line work. Ronald Jones is gone. He's only got Vaughn right now. I assume they either bring someone else in or draft a guy, but probably not going to be that high a bet. Worst case scenario, they draft like a James Cook in the 4th round, or one of the whites that can catch the ball very well. That's worst case scenario, but Brady's going to trust that veteran back to catch the ball, and maybe he gets hurt. All running backs are ready to get hurt on any snap of any game. So why aren't we valuing Leonard Fournette as much as, say, Dalvin Cook and Kamara? Well, he's not explosive. That's fine. He's productive, and he's on just as good an offense. So, I love Leonard Fournette at this point, and I have been a fade Leonard Fournette individual forever. But at this point, if I can move Dalvin Cook for Leonard Fournette and really any sort of plus, I think you should be doing that. I don't think there's any insulated value on Dalvin Cook, and I don't think there's any insulated value on Alvin Kamara. They're all running backs past the age apex. And Leonard Fournette has the draft capital that people love to hang on so much. So I'm in. And I think we should be valuing him a lot higher. I think I'm taking Leonard Fournette, and I think we talked about this on our last show at the Full Tilt, right? But I think I'm willing to up what I would trade for Leonard Fournette into that 110, 109. And you might be able to convince me 108 if I really needed it.
Yeah. And that's why I put the 108 there, because I think it's right at that point. Like the Elijah Mitchell's, it's that point of, we know we probably can't get a running back this year. You definitely can't buy an elite running back, but you can get elite production. So, what are we working with here? The beauty about Fournette is that if you view him as equaling any of the production of those top 10 guys as a replacement player, you can right now get a massive plus to it. And that's the real appeal is you don't have to tell everyone that you value. I mean, we do because we're on a show. We don't have to tell everyone that you value Leonard Fournette equal to Dalvin Cook, right? It sounds heinous. It looks awful on paper. But production-wise, what's the difference going to be? Not a lot, likely. So, what sort of pluses could you get? Could you get too late first? Could you get, the first and the 201? What is it going to be? So go out there and try it, because you are going to replace close to the same production. You're not going to have him as a running back one most of the time because, you don't need him to be. But he's going to need that type of production. So why not go out and test the market when you know that the Dalvin Cooks, the Alvin Kamaras are only going to get older as the years go on?
Right. None of those running backs are going to accrue value from this point on. Leonard Fournette has accrued enough value to do this, but not enough value to completely kill it. Maddie's just sent in the Slack, but I traded away Dalvin Cook and Gabe Davis, and I received Leonard Fournette and Elijah Moore. This is what I'm talking about. The perception that Leonard Fournette sucks is gotten to a point, and I think Zeke is going to slowly work his way into this conversation, which might get me fired from my own brand, but he's going to slowly work his way into this conversation where you can trade Dalvin Cook for Ezekiel Elliott and a player like Elijah freaking Moore, who is soaring up draft boards. This is an easy play, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. Replacement production, elite asset acquisition is the most easy money way of looking at your fantasy football landscape, in my opinion. So I think I dragged out Leonard Fournette long enough, but that's my point. We should, Coach Bruce, we've had him on the show, I think last year, put out his rankings, and Leonard Fournette, I didn't even see him in the top 25. Now, I don't know if that's just an oversight, Bruce, Coach, if I can call you Bruce, but I think that's exactly one of the reasons why I'm willing to do that. Replaceable production, elite acquisition elsewhere to extend your roster. That's such easy money to me. Let's talk about Chase Edmonds here, Tom Lee.
Yeah.
Because Chase Edmonds' day lasted like a little bit, but then they signed Mostert, and people, oh my God, what are we going to do? Mostert's coming in to take the role. Mostert's going to play 35 snaps before he misses 7 games.
Yeah.
And if you are in on Chase Edmonds like I was not, and it's Mostert that's swaying your opinion, No, thank you. Then you weren't really in anyway. I want to move on from him as fast as I can. Fast as I can. Especially with the acquisition of Tyreek Hill. And maybe they don't run it as much. And how is this offense going to look? I don't know.
Yeah. He's the one of these three running backs we're going to talk about that does not fit the running back one on a weekly basis production.
Yes.
He could, but he doesn't fit the bill because he's not the type of runner that this scheme's going to require, whereas Mostert is, even though he's absolutely old as anything. So I'm not saying Mostert's going to outsnap him or anything like that, but I'm like,
I don't even understand the allure of Chase Edmonds because over his career, he's never been a consistent producer. He's never been a consistent producer. He gets hurt. He hasn't had the opportunity. People just say, well, if they just gave him, 200 to awesome. If you give pretty much any running back 200, 250 touches, they're going to have big weeks. Just ask Josh Jacobs, who is routinely shit all over, yet seems to produce every year at some rate.
Yeah.
And I know that that's going to come back to bite me in the ass, but I don't care. I said it. So I want out. You have Edmonds with a 203. Give me the 203.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one.
Immediately, without hesitation, because what's going to happen in this draft, right? Either the quarterbacks are going to get taken because it's super flex and you got to take the value, which means what? Wide receivers are going to get pushed down. And then Dotson and Sky Moore and I don't know, Pickens and some of these other guys, these other receivers that we love, or even some of the running backs are going to fall.
Yeah.
Or the opposite is going to happen. The quarterbacks all get super pushed down draft boards, and wide receivers, and I guess Isaiah Spiller, if he's not dead to you yet, is going to get pushed up the board, and then quarterback value is going to fall. And then at 203, what are you getting? Matt Corral, Howell. If baby hands Pickens falls in Superflex drafts because everyone makes fun of his little baby hands, then I'm taking that just because of positional value and
correct.
and the accruing of value that rookies have in their sophomore year at like a 57% rate. Sure, even in the second round. Easy money to me. And
I think the last point for me on Chase Edmonds is that it's a 1 year deal. Like, yes, it was 2 for 12, but he's got 6.5 guaranteed and they have an out next year. So it's different to the next guy we're going to talk about. They want to have a look at him. He was cheap enough to get on the free agency market because they wanted to bring in a guy with a name who they've seen, be functional in the backfield. And he's a nice little release valve for a Tua type player, but you're going to have a few different types of release valves in this offense with the guys that brought in outside of him.
Yep, absolutely, 100%. Let's talk about James Conner real quick. James Conner is interesting because as much as I like Leonard Fournette, there's something holding me back on James Conner, and this is my own personal, I guess, biases. Is that the correct?
Yep, sure. Let's go with that.
Sure, let's go with that. I'm not an English major, so whatever. But it's my own bias against him that holds me back. But 3 years at $21 million and 14 guaranteed. Well, let's compare that with Fournette's 3 years, $21 million, only $12 million guaranteed. And he's in an offense that passes him the ball. He was crushing it down the stretch when Edmonds got hurt. Like, absolutely league winner, James Conner. So I'm in, and you have James Conner the 110, and I'm more inclined to say the 110. But I'm kind of contradicting my fucking self, and I understand.
Well, it looks awful on paper, right? We get the point. Like, it's these guys don't look good because of what's happened the last 2 seasons with them, because they became free agents. Free agent running backs are fraught with danger, and we know that first seem really sexy. So to say that 1 for 1, these are comparable pieces, it does stress you out, and it does create that visceral reaction where you're like, oh, fuck, there's no way I could do that, right? But at the same time, if you're getting throw-ins of this type of value in a trade, that's what I'm looking for right now. Is if I'm trading back, if I'm trading back out of, say, like Dalvin Cook, if I can get Aaron Jones and James Conner for Dalvin Cook, that's 2 possible running back ones. They're all old. Like this is the type of deal where all of a sudden, and then you could flip one for a first. You could do whatever you want with that value, but that's the sort of move right now that I think you can make with these guys because they don't seem sexy. They haven't, unless you had them in your team last year and you saw them go off, the value's not there and you're not in on them, so you can capitalize on this right now.
Yeah, 100% agree. Look, we're going to take another quick sec. We're going to come back. We're going to finish up the tight ends and we're going to get out of here. But this is a clip from our show with Ben Gretsch of Yards Per Gretsch. Definitely check that show out. It is going bananas on the downloads. You're going to want to check that out. And here's a clip from that. So enjoy.
I think people extrapolate positions too much across guys. Like Debo and Ayuk could be an example last year. Like I was really, really bullish on Ayuk last year. In hindsight, clearly too bullish on Ayuk last year. But I still think then when we look at Debo, like I also was pretty over market on him in terms of my exposure, because I think it's fair enough to say when you're looking at Ayuk in a vacuum, you say, okay, what's his case? Well, part of it is like that Debo is kind of a running back in terms of like how he was used the previous 2 years. And Ayuk earned all these targets. He's the alpha. Let's roll. Like that's our ceiling case for Ayuk. Then you look at Debo. Like I don't think you have to carry over the Ayuk ceiling case as an expectation when you look at Debo. I think you can include in his range of outcomes. What if Ayuk doesn't meet those expectations? Similar with Hollywood Brown. Like I think it's fair to say in a vacuum that we can be optimistic about Rashad Bateman taking a major step forward when we're looking at Bateman. But then looking at Brown, say, yeah, it's also possible that Bateman just like isn't that good. And he's just like a wide receiver too, who has an 18% target share. And like, maybe that's possible. And I don't think that's necessarily hedging against yourself when you're doing it across multiple different teams.
There's an important lesson in hedging your bets, which is kind of what I talked about earlier about betting against your opponents. And you can also bet against your, thought on outcome by going the opposite way in some leagues, which is kind of what we got at with the James Conner conversation, right? So important to be aware of, hedging your bets, quote unquote. We're going to quickly run down the tight ends because there's only 2 that I actually care about of these 4. The first one, obviously, being Zach Ertz. Seeing as how I traded basically 205 plus to get him, I believe in Zach Ertz. He was phenomenal down the stretch, top 5 tight end every week down the stretch. I think over the last 5 or 6 weeks, basically played the Larry Fitzgerald role in that offense, and I don't think that's going to change. I love him as an older tight end 1 option. Obviously, it doesn't take much to be a tight end 1. I care more about players who has the option to be a top 8 tight end, because I think that's kind of when the difference maker starts to go. I think that he will definitely have a great chance. I'm not going to say definitely and then a great chance. I'm just going to come out and say it because I'm that way. I think he outscores Noah Fant this year. I think he outscores Albert O this year. I think he outscores I think he'll rival his former counterpart, Dallas Goedert, this year. Because of how that offense in Arizona works. We know who the coach is going to be. The system's not going to change. So I think if you're looking for an option as a player, as a tight end in a tight end premium league, like 0.5 PPR, he's just going to operate like a receiver for you at the end of the day. And he's going to be cheaper than a lot of those receivers. So I love this contract. Good for him. 3-year, $32 million, 17 guaranteed. I love this. He's a screaming buy. And I'm willing to pay the 205 for him.
Yeah. I mean, we know I hate tight ends, right? And it's because, like you said,
you really do.
There's only 3 to 4 of them on any weekly basis that really give like proper impact outside of maybe like a 9-point floor on in most cases. Even some of the top guys only score in that sort of 10 to 12 range. Ertz, when paired with Kyler, gave you a person who had that positional difference upside. Not in the same way as a Kelsey or one of the big guys, but he's affordable. He fits the bill for having team security. Yes, he's slow. Yes, he's old. But which tight ends aren't?
He always has been.
He always has been. But he's got nous with his route running. He's very smart. He's safe with the hands, and he's a red zone threat in this offense. For me, that's all you really need at the tight end position, especially if it's affordable, and especially if you can get him as a throw-in to a bigger deal like you were talking about before. So as much as I dislike tight ends, it's because of the premium people put on them, unless they're game-breaking, unless it's all just chat, unless they are truly positional redefining. But this is a guy who, if he's sitting there as your tight end, I'm pretty happy with my roster.
Easily, because last year at the end of the year reminded me exactly like Carson Wentz to Zach Ertz and Carson Wentz's MVP season. Like it was, or almost Absolutely. MVP. The season that should have been had not been for the leg injury. So I think you're exactly right. His athleticism has always kind of been in question. Let's talk about the next one that I give a shit about, just Gerald Everett. Once again, willing to break hearts. Probably going to break hearts, not even willing to break hearts. I believe you don't have it up here, but I believe it was a 2-year contract.
It's 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. 2-year contract. He'll be there the 2 years in an explosive offense. He's going to be open. Jared Cook gave you some decent games. Parham before his unfortunate injury gave you some okay games. I love Everett in this situation. He's another player that I would just rather, if I miss out on those big three, big four, I'd rather just wait. I'd rather wait, and I'd rather play Everett. So I like this. And dangerously stating, tight end kind of looks deep this year. I'm just gonna
Right.
I'm
Yet
gonna
again, we come to this
dangerously
point.
say that out loud. I know it's said a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna just say it. Tight end will be deep this year. Period.
Yeah, and like you said, if you're choosing to go out of the tight end market and find yourself in that back end part, I'm always in that back end part, right? That's where I live.
Yep.
So Gerald Everett, the dirty little secret in Los Angeles at the Chargers, Herbert loves athletic tight ends, and Cook is not athletic, but it's a big body. He's happy to throw it up there. Everett's a big fella with some speed. Like, this is the perfect spot for him to go to. You know, I thought, okay, Fance rocked up in Seattle. Everett, where's he going to go? He'll probably be a tight end too somewhere. You know, weekly touchdown upside. No, this is a proper landing spot for a guy who could be something. In the same way as the Higbees and the things of the past were weekly options at the tight end position, he fits right in there, and there's plenty of him on my benches, so I'm very happy with this landing spot.
Right, and because you should have been picking up every free agent tight end that could have possibly signed somewhere and done something. That's just the same thing you do with quarterbacks, because I kind of view them the same way. If you catch my meaning, like, I'd rather wait than overpay for one, and I view the same way. I'm just unlike you. Unlike you, I'm willing to pay for the big boys, where you're just like, every time Tom Lee like DMs one of us about a tight end, we know, like, no matter which tight end it is, just cut your value in half, and like that's what you'll be willing to offer us. And we've accepted it, and it's just come to a point where now, whenever you say tight end, like, none of us.
I apologize for it. Tight ends are good things, right? But that position just seems like
tight ends are just new age kickers for you.
Who'd be a tight end? Yeah, like, man, there's no glory. You have to block all the time. It's rough. But I like them. They're mostly likable type players.
Mostly likable type players.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Shit on them a little bit more. Mo Alley Cox got 3 years, $18 million, $8 million guaranteed. I don't care for Mo Alley Cox. I think he's more of a blocker for them. He might score a couple of touchdowns.
Yeah.
Go and get Granson. Granson.
This is the situation I wanted to talk about with you, because Matt Ryan loves tight ends. So I wanted to know, what was your opinion on the tight end room in Indiana?
Granson has always been my heart. Baby Hands Doyle is finally retired. Flopping that hard against Baltimore casted so much shame on him that he retired. I don't care the real reason. That's the reason I'm going with, because that was fucking egregious. There was some WWE shit out there. But go and get Granson, right? Because he's young. He's proven to be good when he gets a chance at the ball, to receive the ball, and that was from Carson Wentz. So go and get him. Again, breakout, maybe not even this year, but next year. Sure, third year, fourth year. He looks like a real good tight end, and you should have him at the bottom of all your rosters. Mo Alley Cox is like fine, but I would take like 15 to 20 other tight ends over him, honestly.
Yeah, what I will say, especially in Dynasty, is that these guys can be on the waiver wire, especially in the offseason. Go have a look. I saw someone drop Mo Alley Cox the other day. Pick him up. If you got a spot, if the roster's deep enough, just put him there. Put Granson and him there, Just hedge your bets there.
I agree.
Signed for 3 years, he's going to be there with a quarterback who likes tight ends. I don't know. He might score a couple of touchdowns. He could Jared Cook it for you.
Maybe he breaks out. Maybe he breaks out. Maybe he does. But I don't see it. But
you're going to need 4 of them this year anyway. So
exactly.
Pick him up.
Yeah, well, you nailed it. And let's talk about Evan Ingram, because I just want the opportunity to make fun of the Jaguars. The Jaguars spent $9 million on Evan Ingram, so he can be the 5th player that will line up in the slot for them this year. Obviously this kills like all the Dan Arnold like hype for me. I guess not all, because Ingram is for sure either going to get hurt or drop so many passes they probably bench him. But Peterson loves running 2 tight ends. We've seen it. Goddard and Ertz were both successful in Philly. Both Ingram and Arnold are more athletic than Ertz, so we'll be interested to see how this works for them. Progressing with a young quarterback who struggled, they could target it more. Who knows? There's hope. I would still rather Arnold, who will be cheaper than Ingram, but it's only a 1-year deal. They're not committed to him. who knows what happens in the draft? I mean, if the I can't remember his name right now, but the guy from Virginia who's super athletic and is 6'7", if Buddy lands there, oh my God, that's what, or Virginia Tech, I believe. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I'm blanking. But I would love that there. But for the most part, I don't really care about Ingram. I think he sucks. This is kind of his last shot before he plays Gerald Everett-esque roulette on rosters. So future Gerald Everett.
Yeah,
Ingram.
exactly. Wait till
Got
next year
signed.
to find out where he lands.
So yeah, let's that's it. I think that's it. I think we got through it all. We got through it all in one episode, under an hour and 20, so not too super long. We do apologize for the longer episodes, but it is the off season. Hopefully you make it all the way to the end, because I have fun stuff to mention, different ways to enter on the Saquon Barkley Penn State signed jersey giveaway. So Tom Lee, final thoughts, Aussie slang, and let's get the heck out of here.
We'll sneak some Aussie slang in, and we said the other week, I gave you sort of a short list of things that mean idiots or fools in Aussie language. We're going to go with things that mean great. All right. So
love it.
I've got 5 of them. And some of them more just phrasings of words that we know. So things like out fucking standing. Just imagine this Aussie accent, just like, oh, well, mate, that's bloody out fucking standing, mate. That's fucking amazing. Those sort of things. But other words, bonza. Have you heard of bonza?
Bonza.
Bloody bonza, mate. You know?
Love it.
Not bad. Ripper. Oh, is that a Ripper game? Ripper.
I love it. Love it.
Ace. Ace is fading because it's a fair run.
Ace we use here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking
See, this
Ace.
is we'll get rid of Ace. And the last one for me is you beaut. Right? You bloody beauty.
That's so Canadian.
So,
we use that all the time.
But
Beauty
of course,
flow.
Australia, just you beaut. Just letter U, beaut, shove it together. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, the spelling, obviously. But, you're a beauty. Oh, what a beauty. Such a beauty.
Oh, it's so formal.
Yeah, we use that one. You're a fucking beauty, bud. We like, for us, we had a bud. Like, that's the difference.
It's so nice in such a full sentence. That's the difference. Is it's almost aggressive. It's like, oh, fuck you, beaut, mate. We're out
brought
of
me
there.
a beer? Fucking beauty, bud. You're an absolute beauty, bud. I love it. Yeah, that one's super Canadian. That's a Commonwealth coming together and butchering the English language together.
Exactly, together.
Yeah.
In colorful money we stand. Yeah.
Look, if you want a shot at the Saquon Barkley jersey giveaway and you haven't given us our top 3 consensus running backs in this year's rookie countdown, this is how you can do it. Take a screenshot of your being subscribed to the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you're subscribed. YouTube, if you really want to, we'd prefer the podcast. DM that to us, and that is an instant invitation to the Saquon Barkley giveaway, which we will do at the end of our top 5 countdown from 5 to 1. At the end of that, we'll announce the winner of the Saquon Barkley giveaway, or we might do it on the draft show, because that's a 4-hour show, and we might actually save it for that. We haven't totally decided yet. Get off my back about it,
but it's coming up. It's exciting.
So screenshot your subscription to the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast. If you put a review in there, I'm not saying it does or doesn't help, but it probably helps your cause. I don't care what the review is. It just helps us go up the charts and get more people on our product, which we're very proud of.
An extra entry, Tom. Yeah.
Exactly. So a little bit of a bonus entry if you don't want to guess the consensus 3 running back. So we're giving you that option. And of course, my final thoughts are always the same. I want everyone to appreciate what we have in this offseason. Absolute insanity. I hope everyone tunes in to the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast rookie countdown, and I hope you keep hanging in there with me and Tom Lee on my Saturday, his Sunday, because he is in Australia, and hanging out with us as we go through how draft picks and players have either accrued value or gone down in value, and what are the actual value draft picks. We're starting that research this week. We'll have that for you next week. Can't wait. Lots of rookie stuff leading up to the draft. It's going to be a great time. So please join us. As I said before, go to Underdog, log in with the promo code Full Tilt, get your money doubled up to $100. If you haven't played Underdog before, do that. That also helps us, and it will also help us provide more consistent and top tier content for us. Big help. We appreciate you. And of course, treat everyone with respect. Don't be a piece of shit. check in on your loved ones because you never know when someone needs you to check in on them. Stay kind to one another. Enjoy your weekend and stay safe. Remember that clear eyes and full hearts can never lose, and that your best days, well, shit, they're always spent tilting. Good night, everybody.